Part 106. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Luke Hixie. Chapter 1051. Chapter 1051. Am I too possessive? Nangong Luo often dated Zhou Yun. They went back and forth and became familiar with Fang Yu. He even knew that Fang Yu was Gong Qinli's colleague. But if Nangong Luo meets Fang Yu, Zhou Yun will most likely be with him, so Fang Yu won't often mention other women. He just mentioned it accidentally, and Nangong Luo caught the point. Do you know Gong Qinli? That's right, my colleague is an impatient person with a lot of force. Fang Yu cheerfully described Gong Qinli in one sentence and asked casually, does Mr. Nangong also know Gong Qinli? No. Nangong Luo admitted without hesitation. Zhou Yun knew something about Nangong Luo's proposal, so she quickly asked Fang Yu to change the subject, and the matter was settled as it was. The Gong family is not married to the Gu family. The reason why Mrs. Gong replied to Mrs. Gu was, the child's mind is unstable and it will take some time. Although Mrs. Gu was anxious, she couldn't force her daughter into the house to be her daughter-in-law. She could only do it temporarily, but she kept giving Gu Jinsi explicit hints to get a girlfriend. Gong Qinli's marriage is currently unfinished. Mrs. Gong is interested, and Mrs. Nangong is also worried. Mrs. Gong is worried that her daughter's relationship is unclear, and Mrs. Nangong is worried that her son will be shaken after knowing that Gong Qinli rejected the Gu family's marriage. But these things cannot be explained. The younger cousin was picked up by his biological parents after he made a fuss for a while, and Gong Qinli couldn't meditate alone at home. The flowers on the table, the paintings on the wall, and many exquisite gadgets in this room are related to various memories of her past. She looked carefully and suddenly realized that many things in this room were gifts from one person. Even when you open the wardrobe, you can see clothes related to that person. Gong Qinli felt that she might be sick and felt unbalanced. Am I too possessive? She even wondered if she had that kind of abnormal little thought. He clearly rejected Nangong Luo, but he didn't want anyone else to be with him. Maybe I'm a little jealous or annoyed? She doesn't want to be a villain. While on vacation, Gong Qinli went to find Ye Weiwei. When he saw Ye Weiwei, Gong Qinli suddenly asked, do you know what I see in you now? Huh? Is there anything strange about me? Ye Weiwei didn't understand what she meant. He lowered his head and looked left and right, but he didn't see anything strange. Don't be ridiculous. Gong Qinli pursed her lips and smiled, rarely saying a very elegant word. I was just about to say that I saw in you a sense of peace and tranquility in the years. Because of happiness and peaceful life, I have the feeling of tranquility in the years. Ye Weiwei suddenly understood what she said. Lu Li, as long as you want, you can do it too. Me? I can't do it. I handle cases and disputes in the police station every day, and my head will explode. Are you tired of being a police officer? Gong Qinli shook her head, that's not true. Although these things are very tiring, helping others is the basis of happiness. After helping those people solve their problems, I feel quite happy. This is your righteousness. I am only willing to protect the people I care about, no matter how small the world is. Everyone has his or her own choice. Where have I heard your words before? Gong Qinli tilted her head and scratched her head pretending not to care. I just said it casually. Ye Weiwei teased her, did you say what Brother Nangong said casually? End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Luke Hixie. Chapter 1052. Chapter 1052. Whose girlfriend is she? Yi, you always mention things about Luo in front of me. If you don't like to hear it, I won't say it. Hey. Gong Qinli quickly held her hand, I didn't mean that. I meant that you meant something, but you still have to talk about something. We are all friends. Who wants to be friends with you? Obviously I want to turn you into my girlfriend. The two of them knew the hidden meaning, and the relationship between Ye Weiwei and Gong Qinli for so many years was not in vain. She knew what to say just by Gong Qinli's tone. I heard that brother Nangong has been having a good chat with Zhonyun recently, and the two often go out on dates. Oh, dating. She often goes on dates. She also heard Madame Gong talk about it. Gong Qinli lowered her eyes and sighed, then blinked twice quickly and raised eyebrows. What did you just say? Zhonyun. Yes, Miss Zhonyun, don't tell me that it's been several days and you still don't know. I really don't know. She had been avoiding this matter. The only thing that came to her mind was the status adjective Miss Zhong, and she had never paid attention to Miss Zhong's name. Ye Weiwei questioned, then you reacted so bigly. Gong Qinli explained, no, this Zhonyun has the same name as the girlfriend of one of my colleagues. Is it such a coincidence? Do you have a photo? It seems there is one, let me look for it. Ye Weiwei flipped through his phone and found Zhonyun's photo. Hand it to Gong Qinli for a look. Gong Qinli exploded. This is Fang Yu's girlfriend. What a coincidence. No wonder, Fang Yu broke up with his girlfriend a few days ago and Luo also announced his relationship at that time. No wonder, they are the same person. Gong Qinli couldn't believe it, her expression looked a little angry. Ye Weiwei tugged her hand. Li Yulai, you're a little excited. Can you not be excited? I have only met Zhonyun once, but I think she has a good relationship with Fang Yu. She suddenly broke up and fell in love with Luo. She must not really like Luo. Then what are you going to do? I'm going to tell Luo, so that he won't be stupid and give his feelings to a woman who doesn't like him. This sentence was too straightforward, and Ye Weiwei was embarrassed to remind her that this sentence was more suitable for her and Nangong Luo. As a friend, we can't ignore him. I'll call him right now. Gong Qinli is an action person. She basically takes action as soon as she opens her mouth. No, just touch your phone after saying this. But before she was about to dial, Ye Weiwei reached out and pressed her screen. Lu Li, brother Nangong liked you before, and it's impossible for him to give his feelings to another woman so quickly, so if you just called and said that, it's of no use to him. As the only bystander in the night, my thinking becomes clearer and more thorough. If Zhonyun had just broken up with her boyfriend, Nangong Luo would definitely know. But since he made that choice, it means that he only approved of the marriage, and there is no need to talk about feelings at all. If Gong Qinli called just to say that one thing, the relationship between the two would probably be even more awkward. But the authorities were confused and Gong Qinli panicked. Then what do you think we should do? We can't let him fall in love so unclearly. When it comes to falling in love, you need to talk more before you can find love. What if Zhonyun breaks up and her heart is empty, and brother Nangong happens to fall into her heart? Impossible. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 1053. Chapter 1053, Get married at 23 and have children at 24. Lu Li, let me tell you this, I will mention brother Nangong's feelings to you for the last time. Think about it for yourself. Is your current mood because of your unwillingness to lose your friend, or because you are jealous? How could it be that I was jealous? Gong Qinli glanced away, still a little afraid to face it. Ye Weiwei put away the smile on her face and said something serious to her. Nothing in this world is absolute. If you don't work hard, don't blame others for what they did. Gong Qinli, who usually talks a lot, has often been at a loss for words recently. Ye Weiwei held her hand and said, okay, now that you're out, come and walk with me. It's very quiet around here, so it's perfect for a walk. Ye Yuyi is 7 months pregnant, and now she can only go for a walk not far from the villa. But this is not a restriction. She also cares about the child in her belly and is willing to stay in a quiet place for the sake of the child. Gong Qinli only saw Ye for about a month after going to work. Today, when she took a closer look, she felt, your belly is bigger than ordinary people. Speaking of this, the smile on Ye Wei's face became even bigger, because there is more than one. Did the doctor say they were twins? You will know when the time comes. Still pretending to be mysterious. It's fun. Her hands were placed on her bulging belly, her eyes full of tenderness. Gong Qinli found it a bit unbelievable, but it was all within reason. She couldn't help but sigh, I never thought that you would get married and have children at this age. Ye Wei behaved very naturally, it's okay. I'm 24 years old. It's a very happy thing to be with the person I like. You are the only one who is lucky enough to meet the person you are destined to be from the very beginning. This kind of thing. Ye Wei thought for a moment and said calmly, if it's fate as you said, then even if we didn't meet each other when we were children, maybe I'm still doing what I like now, and when we meet we will still be together when he comes, but it's just a matter of time and time. I firmly believe that I won't miss it. Recalling everything that had happened in the past, Gong Qinli suddenly realized, I used to say that you were timid, but in fact, from the beginning to the end, you were the bravest one. Whether it is grades, abilities, or people, you have always pursued what you want something and get it. Aren't things relative? If you want, you can get what you want. Li Yulai, it's best to live your life happily, don't embarrass yourself. Why are you going around and talking about me? Because you are the one who needs to worry most right now. I'm afraid that if you make the wrong choice, you will regret it for the rest of your life. I see, you are reminding me repeatedly that the person I like is actually Nangong Luo. I didn't say that, think about it yourself. There are some things that others can remind you but cannot make the decision for the person concerned. Gong Qinli's heart was not calm to begin with, and now it was even more disturbed by Ye Wei's words, and she couldn't hold herself tight. She tentatively asked Ye Wei for his opinion, how about I call him and ask him to come out and have a talk? Ye Wei asked back, have you thought it through already? Gong Qinli shook her head. Ye Wei suggested, you'd better think it through before talking to him. If you don't think clearly, it will only make things worse. Kixi is thinking about it, and the next chapter will start to promote the emotional line between Li Yulai and Luo. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 1054. Chapter 1054. Li Yulai is jealous. Gong Qinli still didn't understand, but she couldn't help it. Deliberately went to the second uncle's house to stay with his little cousin, and tricked his little cousin into cheating Nangong Luo. My little cousin is very smart. Without saying a word, he found an excuse to act cute and coquettish and even called Nangong Luo to the house. He also succeeded. This is the time when the elders of the Gong family are not at home. Nangong Luo just thought it was a child who loved to play. As soon as he entered the door, he saw his little cousin rushing towards him and hugging him. Brother Luo, you are here. Didn't you, little guy, threaten me that if I don't come, you will sue me and accuse me of bullying you? I didn't say it, the little cousin refused to admit it when he saw someone coming. Nangong Luo went with him. Tell me, why are you here for me? Do you want to take you out to play? Do you have any plans for a place? Nangong Luo asked a long list of questions, then raised his hand to look at the time on the clock on his wrist. I can only take you to play for 2 days. Hours later, I'll think about it later. The little cousin scratched his head and said, 2 hours is enough. Well, where do you want to go? Brother Luo, come in first. The little cousin held Nangong Luo's hand tightly and dragged him inside. Nangong Luo also walked in his direction. When he waited at the door of the room, he discovered a familiar scene from not long ago. Bang, the little cousin closed the door again and locked it. It's just that this time the roles were reversed, the person standing at the door became Nangong Luo, and the person sitting in the room waiting was Gongkin Li. Little guy, you are doing this again. Nangong Luo knocked on the door, but heard no sound. He shook his head helplessly, but his voice was extremely gentle and doting. Gongkin Li thought, why did she realize now that Nangong Luo is really not the careless young man he was back then? Now he is mature, gentle, and actually a very charming man. While thinking about it, Gongkin Li suddenly stood up and walked towards him, shouting, Luo. Nangong Luo leaned at the door and said calmly, did Qianyu leave the key this time? Gongkin Li shook her head, no. The last time he was locked in the room, Nangong Luo was actually given a key, but he deliberately delayed the time in order to say goodbye to her. This time, Gongkin Li really didn't leave a key for herself. But she also told Nangong Luo directly, it's not Qianyu who caused trouble this time, it's me who is looking for you. Nangong Luo looked at her and asked immediately, have you encountered any trouble and need help? Gongkin Li. She asked back, do I only come to you when I'm in trouble? Isn't it possible that I just come to you for fun? Fun? Do you hope that we can still be like before? Gongkin Li curled her lips, I think so. Nangong Luo directly helped her fill in the next sentence, but that is impossible. There is no way to erase what has happened, so it is impossible to go back to where it was. Okay, I came to you today to remind you that your current girlfriend Zhonyun was my colleague Fang Yu's girlfriend before she announced her relationship with you. I heard that you are very good to her. I'm afraid you'll suffer. Lu Li, when men and women are together, girls should be more afraid of suffering. I mean, she doesn't like you. That's right, I don't like her either, so we get along harmoniously and slowly develop our relationship. Nangong Luo, don't you understand, I'm worried that you may not get anything in return for your sincerity. Gongkin Li's temperament can easily explode when meeting Nangong Luo, but as Ye Wei expected, she couldn't hold back any longer. But Li Yulai, who is the cruelest? End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 1055. Chapter 1055 My sincerity is with you. Nangong Luo suddenly took a step forward, and the distance between him and Gongkin Li was only 10 centimeters. He suddenly lowered his head and leaned close to Gongkin Li's ear, whispering softly, my true heart is with you, so why am I afraid that others will hurt me? Gongkin Li's eyes widened in shock and she backed away in fear. Nangong Luo raised his head and took a few steps back. The two of them stepped back, and the distance between them became wider step by step. Nangong Luo told her, look, our relationship is like this now. Either two people get close at the same time, or they get closer and closer. If only one person chases and the other person escapes, there will still be a distance between them. So, if we can't be together, we can only choose to stay away. Get too close and the injury will be more serious. Lu Li, call Qianyu and ask him to open the door. Gongkin Li suddenly forgot what happened next. When she came to her senses, her little cousin was the only one left beside her. The little cousin looked confused. Sister, did you quarrel again? I saw that brother Luo didn't look very happy when he went out just now. Gongkin Li touched her little cousin's head and said, my lord's affairs are too complicated. She knew that she had affected Nangong Luo's mood again. She suddenly remembered that Nangong Luo had expressed his feelings to her many times, intentionally or unintentionally, but she always regarded those words as a joke. And the ring box she saw from Nangong Luo on the day Yezikin proposed to Ye Wei. Gongkin Li hit herself on the head several times. I'm so stupid. There were obviously many unusual expressions, but she didn't want to think about them. The little cousin didn't understand what Gongkin Li was thinking. He just saw her knocking her head and asked worriedly, Sister, what's wrong with you? Are you mad because of the quarrel? Upon hearing this, Gongkin Li knocked her little cousin on the head and said, "Children are talking nonsense. Go out and play by yourself." "Humph, I'll throw it away after you've used her, you bad woman." The little cousin stepped back to avoid her, put his hands on his hips and raised his head to the side. Gongkin Li, a child, stuck out her tongue at him heartily, "Men are all big pigs." Gongkin Li couldn't figure it out and called Ye Wei again for advice. "I'm just worried about him, he's still so cold." "It's you who deliberately avoided it, but the other person's point is obviously to tell you that he really likes you. He confessed once and then gave up. Do you believe that this is called true love? Isn't it just a whim or what you can't get that is the most unforgettable thing? I think the following sentence is more appropriate to describe you. This day is really impossible to live through." Gongkin Li expressed her grievance. You are laughing at me too." Ye Wei coughed twice and changed his words. Okay, of course I will help you." "How can you help me?" "Let me help you find out the situation." Even though she is a pregnant woman with limited mobility, she is very well informed. After getting support from Ye Wei, Gongkin Li's mood eased a lot. She was walking in the stairwell when she suddenly heard movement downstairs. When she went down to see, it was the palace lady who had returned home. "I wanted to go down and say hello, but I saw the palace lady with a sad face. Mom, you don't look good, has something happened?" "Luli is at home today. That's good. Pack up and go to the hospital with me." "Go to the hospital, what to do?" "The old man of the Nangong family is ill." Brother Luo's heartbreaking words, "My true heart is with you, so why am I afraid that others will hurt me?" End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 1056. Chapter 1056. Grandpa Nangong's grandson's daughter-in-law. Nangong Luo's grandfather fell ill. The news came violently, and the illness became even more severe. Except for the Nangong family, the Gong family has the closest relationship with the Nangong family, so it is natural that someone from the Gong family should visit. But aside from the superficial etiquette, Gongkin Li still had a very good relationship with Mr. Nangong in private. When she heard that Mr. Nangong was ill, Gongkin Li felt extremely worried, as if she heard that her own relatives were ill. When they went to the hospital to visit, Mr. Nangong was still lying in the ward. The doctor prohibited them from entering and could only guard outside. Many people were standing outside, and Gongkin Li said nothing. She saw Nangong Luo. The man who had met her not long ago was leaning against the wall, his brows furrowed deeply. She approached Nangong Luo unknowingly. "Luo." She just shouted softly, and Nangong Luo raised his head and comforted her. "Don't worry, Grandpa is fine." Gongkin Li couldn't laugh or cry, but under such circumstances, it was impossible for her to laugh. "I know Grandpa will be fine." Mr. Nangong suddenly fainted at home and was found to be sent to the hospital. The reason for his illness and hospitalization was actually very simple. The old man was already suffering from a lot of illnesses. Although he seemed to be fine before, the illness came like a mountain. The old man's body is weak. It is not an external accident. Sooner or later, his life will be exhausted. Nearly 2 days later, Mr. Nangong's condition has eased a bit, and he can go in for visits one after another. There is no need to go with Mrs. Gong now. Gongkin Li came by herself. Mr. Nangong was extremely happy when he saw Gongkin Li. "Li Yulai, come here, come and sit next to Grandpa." "Grandpa, I can finally see you. I'm worried to death." The communication between the two is not for the sake of superficiality, but just like grandparents and grandchildren, the elder is kind and the younger is sincerely filial. Although Gongkin Li has a rather impatient temper, she has always been lovable when speaking in front of her elders. When she is around, the elders will be very happy. Soon after Gongkinli arrived, laughter could be heard in the ward. This time was right after get off work, and not long after, Nangong Luo also came. It's just that this time he didn't come by himself, he also brought someone with him, Zhong Yun. As Nangong Luo's nominal girlfriend, Zhong Yun naturally had to show off and bring some expensive supplements. Mr. Nangong was also happy. Although Mr. Nangong is old, he is a wise man in his heart. He loves Gongkinli very much and hopes that Gongkinli can become his grandson-in-law. But since there is no fate, Mr. Nangong will not embarrass Zhong Yun. After all, his grandson still wants to start a family. This is the second time Gongkinli has seen Zhong Yun, and Zhong Yun is also surprised to see her here. However, neither of them stated it. Zhong Yun is not familiar with Mr. Nangong, so even if he comes to visit, he can only say some polite words. In comparison, Mr. Nangong still likes to chat with Gongkinli. But Gongkinli's mind has already gone astray. Grandpa, since Miss Luo and Zhong are here to accompany you, Li Yulai won't bother you for now. Gongkinli felt very distressed when she saw Zhong Yun. Girl Li Yulai, please remember to come and talk to Grandpa when you have time. Okay, I'll come to stay with Grandpa tomorrow. The old and the young are really like family members. Gongkinli was a little angry after leaving the ward. She almost bumped into someone accidentally, and she looked at her when she apologized. What a coincidence, Dr. Gu. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 1057. Chapter 1057 Gu Nangong, Love Rival. Originally thinking that Gu Jinsi would not respond to her words, Gongkinli was about to leave, but she heard Gu Jinsi's special tone. What a coincidence. Wow, I was really flattered to get such a genuine response from Gu Jinsi. Dr. Gu, did you take the wrong medicine today? Miss Gong, be careful what you say. Hey, you are just a few years older than me. Why do you speak so sophisticatedly? I am just joking with you. Boring. Ye Gongkinli nodded along with his words, thinking, just leave if you're bored. But Gu Jinsi seemed to be deliberately going against her. Gu Jinsi didn't respond when she approached her before. Now she had lost her mind, but Gu Jinsi started to fight with her. Miss Gong, last time you concealed your identity and deceived the patient out of kindness, but then you found an excuse to leave. The patient couldn't get sick and has already passed away. What? Gongkinli raised her eyes in disbelief. Dr. Gu, what do you mean by this? Gu Jinsi asked back. Miss Gong made such a surprised expression. Is she afraid that his death has something to do with you? Gongkinli took a deep breath and said, Gu Jinsi, please tell me clearly, what does it mean that his death is related to me? Thinking of the last time she was mistaken for her daughter by an old man because she did something good, in order to make the old man feel at ease, she pretended to be her daughter and stayed with him for a while. Later, she made excuses to leave and never went back. Now half a month has passed, and Dr. Gu suddenly told her that the old man had passed away. This news was really hard for Gongkinli to accept. I even wonder if it was because I made excuses to leave and never visited the old man again, which caused a psychological gap in the old man. Gu Jinsi seemed to know what she was thinking. He took a step forward and told her softly, it's just what you thought. He was used to a life without a daughter, but your sudden appearance of kindness made him miss you. Then you suddenly left, and he was depressed and finally. Boom. Gu Jinsi's soft words seemed to explode in Gongkinli's mind. What you said is true. She looked at Gu Jinsi, unable to accept those words. Gu Jinsi asked without changing his expression, why should I lie to you? Gongkinli opened her mouth slightly, and the corners of her mouth trembled. Yes, I'm sorry, I don't know. She didn't know that she had done bad things with good intentions. I have no idea. Of course you don't know, The self-righteous young lady, you do whatever you want, and you never care about how much impact your appearance or departure will have on others. Gokensei's character is Suji, and he is pressing forward step by step. Gong Qinli leaned against the wall, feeling depressed and feeling deep self-blame. I don't know, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Gu Qinsi refused to let it go. Every word put pressure on her heart and increased her self-blame. Your apology is not enough to save a life. The atmosphere was high, and she clasped her hands tightly together, feeling a sense of panic in her heart. Nangong Luo suddenly stood up and placed one hand between Gong Qinli and Gu Qinsi. He asked Gu Qinsi calmly, "What did you say to her?" Gu Qinsi raised his eyebrows, looked at Gong Qinli meaningfully, and suddenly sneered, "Some self-righteous people are just doing whatever they want. I really don't know how you would really like such a woman." Nangong Luo protected Gong Qinli without hesitation regardless of the reason. You don't need to judge what kind of person she is. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 1058. Chapter 1058 Nangong Luo unconditionally protects Li Yulai. You don't need to judge what kind of person she is. Nangong Luo was in front of Gong Qinli, and everyone could see his strong desire to protect him. Gu Qinsi was a cold-hearted and venomous person, but when he saw this scene, he did not restrain himself deliberately. Nangong Luo, if you stand up for her today, it won't change the fact. I don't care what the facts are, I only know that she will not deliberately harm others. Nangong Luo's eyes were calm and his words were firm. Gu Qinsi moved his eyes to the distance and said, "Hey, you have time to stand here and speak for her, why not take a look at the woman standing behind you? As a girlfriend, it feels uncomfortable to see your boyfriend ignore you and protect another woman." Gu Qinsi gave a meaningful sneer and turned away. There are still 3 people left, but this relationship is even more awkward. Gu Qinsi and Zhong Yun have a cooperative relationship, so there is no need to worry about whether Zhong Yun will be sad or jealous. He turned around and nodded to Zhong Yun. The two of them understood each other, and Zhong Yun turned and left. But in Gong Qinli's eyes, this scene became a perfect understanding and understanding. She suddenly remembered what Ye Wei had said before. Many things had changed in the casual encounter. She originally thought that Nangong Luo would be hurt, but she didn't expect that he and Zhong Yun already had such a tacit understanding. Yes, she always does things with her own thinking, but she never thought that maybe Zhong Yun and Fang Yu broke up and happened to meet Nangong Luo. It was as if Nangong Luo happened to meet Zhong Yun after his confession failed. If she were Zhong Yun's friend, would she also question, Nangong Luo clearly likes someone else but suddenly agreed to be together, which is not sincere. Lu Li, are you okay? Gong Qinli was thinking about something and didn't even hear Nangong Luo's question. Nangong Luo touched her and said, "Lu Li." This movement and sound finally brought Gong Qinli back to her senses. "Ah. I just called you, what were you thinking about? Is it what Brother Gu told you just now?" She couldn't say in front of Nangong Luo that she was jealous of his tacit understanding with Zhong Yun, so she had to follow his words smoothly, "Yes, yes." Nangong Luo was silent for a while, but finally couldn't help but ask tentatively, "What did he say to you just now?" In fact, when he asked this question, Nangong Luo was not sure. He was not sure whether Gong Qinli would tell him the truth or say something like, "This is a secret between me and Gu Qinsi." Gong Qinli pointed outside. The two of them walked out in tacit agreement and found a quiet place. "Actually, he just told me." Gong Qinli told Nangong Luo everything she had encountered in the hospital. Nangong Luo patiently listened to her little story and comforted her, "This is not your fault." "No, it's my fault. If I hadn't brought him temporary happiness, that old man might still be alive today." "Lu Li, you have to remember that it's okay to have a kind heart. If everyone thinks about the negative consequences of doing something good when they do something good, will there still be kind deeds in the world?" For example, if the director considers that he will be injured when rescuing people and refuses to save them, and the doctor who performs the operation simply gives up because he thinks the operation will not be successful, then there will be no good results from the beginning. But maybe this matter will affect the relationship between you and Brother Gu. Luo, actually I. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 1059. Chapter 1059 Nangang Luo Fool, Good Night. Luo, actually now I. Gong Qinli was just about to say that she had no interest in Gujinsi now, when Nangang Luo's cell phone rang. It was a call from Zhong Yun, telling him that he had something to do and had to leave early. Nangang Luo replied, "Be careful on the road." Gong Qinli, who was very close to him, naturally heard Nangang Luo's concern for Zhong Yun. Perhaps jealousy was at work, and she forgot what she wanted to say in a fit of anger. After hanging up the phone, Nangang Luo saw her unhappy look and promised her, "But Li Yulai, I will help you." Nangang Luo reached out and patted her head very gently. "Ouch, don't hit me on the head, I'll become stupid. I'm already stupid, but I still blame others for knocking me on the head." Nangang Luo, are you looking for a fight? Fool. That moment of interaction made Gong Qinli feel like she was back in the past, but when she looked at Nangang Luo again, she was startled to realize that things were different now. After going to the hospital, Gong Qinli felt that her relationship with Nangang Luo had eased a lot. She spoke in the space with only two simple words, "Good night." It was already 1 o'clock in the morning, and she was about to fall asleep after posting, but she didn't expect to see comments popping up in the space before she turned off the internet. There are only 2 comments like her signature, "Good night." However, the person who liked this comment instantly is Nangang Luo. This late. Gong Qinli sent a message in the private chat window, "It's so late, why haven't you rested yet?" Nangang Luo quickly replied, "Aren't you the same?" Gong Qinli, I am cultivating immortality and overcoming tribulations. Nangang Luo, sorry, I have successfully overcome the disaster. Gong Qinli, succeed, you big-headed devil, if you want to succeed, I must do it first. Nangang Luo, fool, go to bed early, girls tend to get older if they go to bed late. Gong Qinli, Nangang Luo, if you dare to scold me, come out and fight. Nangang Luo, come on, I'll wait for you in the room. Gong Qinli, gonna. At this time, Nangang Luo suddenly sent a voice message, "Go to bed early, good night." The voice that came at night was full of tenderness and magnetism. Gong Qinli suddenly felt that her heart was tickled by that voice. The naughty opponent this time is the same as before, but I can feel that there is something different. Gong Qinli pressed the record button and said good night, but did not let go. In the end, the voice was still not uttered. Growing up, I have met many people and many things, but nothing has ever made Gong Qinli so anxious. However, when she woke up the next day, she unexpectedly received an invitation from Nangang Luo. Nangang Luo said that he wanted her to meet someone. Gong Qinli went there, but she didn't expect to see a little boy. This little boy is the one from the hospital, and at this moment, there is a woman standing next to him. Gong Qinli didn't understand Nangang Luo's intention. Just when she was about to speak, the little boy ran towards her, hugged her thigh and shouted, "Sister." Gong Qinli felt bad. She was thinking of finding that family to apologize yesterday, but she met them today. She thought Nangang Luo was creating conditions for her to apologize. But before she could speak, the woman followed closely and walked towards her, "Are you Miss Gong?" "I am Gong Qinli." As soon as she finished speaking, the woman held her hand and said, "Miss Gong, Thank you very much. Do you feel Brother Ludo's love for Liuli? End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lukixi. Chapter 1060. Chapter 1060. A super gentle man. Gongkinli accepted the thanks from others with a confused look on her face, but was this different from the plot she imagined? Why do you want to thank me? Miss Gong took my place and accompanied my old father for a period of time. Although that time was not long, it left a very good memory in my father's heart. Gongkinli's face was filled with questions. This is completely different from what Gujinsi said. Isn't it because I played you that grandfather had a psychological gap? How could it be? Although my father was a little confused and thought you were me, he asked me when he was about to leave at the end. He must thank you, Miss Gong. Because of your company, my father left peacefully without leaving any trace. Sorry. That's what the woman told her. Including the little boy, they also nodded. Gongkinli learned the truth from the person involved, and was finally able to let go of something in her heart. After seeing off the mother and son, Gongkinli sighed deeply. I can't believe it, things are so circuitous. So Liuli, you have done a good thing, so you don't have to blame yourself. Luo, thank you. Between us. Nangong Luoshan wanted to refute that thank you. It should be said that there is no need to say thank you between us, but at this point, he changed his words and responded to her thank you and said, you're welcome. Gongkinli didn't notice the change in his tone for a moment, and followed the matter with another question. If this is the case, then why did Gujinsi lie to me? He is such a strange person. Gongkinli frowned, as if confused or displeased. However, when Nangong Luo heard the words Gujinsi from her mouth, his mood would be affected. He's a bit unpredictable in what he does since he's willing to tangle with you, maybe he's got some thoughts on his mind. Although Nangong Luo rushed out to speak for Gongkinli immediately that day, he later thought about it. If a cold-blooded person like Gujinsi hated someone, he would not bother to say a word. But unfortunately, he chose a bad tone and struggled with Gongkinli for so long. This is the first time this has happened. What are you thinking about? I think he just hates me. Everyone is born different. Gongkinli retorted, he is cold-blooded and unkind. Nangong Luo said casually, but you still. You like him, don't you? The second half of the sentence is really hard to ask. Nangong Luo looked up at the sky, then glanced at Gongkinli. Luli, I still have some things to deal with. Kk. Now that your matter is settled, I'll leave first. Oh. If she didn't feel that Nangong Luo was deliberately alienating him at this time, she would be a fool. However, what she didn't know was that Nangong Luo turned around and went to another place after leaving, where someone was waiting, the woman and child that Gongkinli saw just now. You wait here obediently while mommy says a few words to that uncle. The woman lowered her head and said a few words to the child before turning to the other direction with Nangong Luo. The woman directly reached out to Nangong Luo and asked for something. I performed well just now. It's time for Mr. Nangong to pay the other half of the fee. Nangong Luo took out a check and pressed it on the table. I don't want the fourth person to know about today's events. Now that I see Nangong Luo, I just want to use the title to describe him. End of this chapter.